If your labs are normal but you still feel exhausted, you're not broken, you're just being measured by the wrong yardstick. Hi, I'm Claire and this is Phillip and we own Mitchell Holistic Health, and today we're going to be talking about why symptom chasing really doesn't get you anywhere and why we take a root cause approach here at Mitchell Holistic Health. Why this is important now is because in the clinic we're seeing more brain fog, more hormonal shifts, more like stalls in progress than ever before, and so we really want to talk about like the approach that we take and why it works and why it gets you results and gets you long-lasting results. So, okay, to start out, like we're going to talk about symptom chasing versus root cause care and kind of what those mean. So when we say that, I think the best way to explain it is like, for me, I guess to use me as an example, I had tons of symptoms. Honestly, 10 years leading up to my diagnosis, when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, I had IBS, I had painful periods, I wasn't sleeping well, I had sinuses, I couldn't live a day.
Sneezing all the time.
I was like, couldn't live a day without Zyrtec and things like that. And so basically, I was just trying to manage like flare-ups here and there, you know. I would take Lactaid sometimes before eating dairy. I would have all sorts of issues that would happen, right? Like, I mean, I don't really think I took supplements at that point because I didn't really know what I was doing, but there was
we
definitely
were told they
like,
were garbage.
Yeah, there was definitely no coherent plan. And so I was just kind of playing whack-a-mole with my symptoms here and there, or just like living with them until my body broke, which, spoiler alert, don't do that. Don't be like me, you know, fix it,
It breaks.
Yeah, it breaks. And so when we started the clinic, it was based off of my own health journey because we essentially, at the same time I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, a friend was too, and she was like, hey, have you heard of the autoimmune protocol? And like Amy Myers was the author. And I was like, no, and I can't even process it. So Phillip, can you read this book and give me the Cliff Notes version? But it was all about like root cause approach and like what was driving my body. So like I was diagnosed with a thyroid disease after giving birth to our second daughter. And what was going on is like essentially my body was attacking my thyroid and like my thyroid was not working, right? And so Philip's brain, which I'm gonna shift it to you, like has always thought root cause approach and like kind of, I guess, I mean, like tell him, start our story on physical therapy and how you thought and then go from there.
Yeah, so I mean, as a physical therapist, my thinking is there has to be a reason why the body is in pain or like why it's not moving well. And so I just don't think things randomly break. And so I was just not convinced when they kept saying like,
well, it's just
we don't know why it happened, but here's a pill and let it die. I was like, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, there has to be a why. Like the body's an intricate system. And so, and as a physical therapist, you know, that's my goal. Like, all right, why does your shoulder hurt? Like, is it because you don't have good mobility, strength, or is it a nerve problem coming from your neck? And so like, it just didn't make any sense at all. And
that
so
my thyroid just died.
That your thyroid just died. And I mean, she had all these other symptoms, but obviously at the time we didn't know that it was related to you know, your thyroid. But when I started reading the Amy Myers book, it's like the first 2 or 3 pages was Claire's story, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Claire, this is insane. Like this is literally what you're living with, because she has thyroid issues or had thyroid issues as well. But then she just started explaining like leaky gut and just like, honestly, it's just the basics of functional medicine. And the light bulb came on and I just knew, I was like, this is right. Like this makes so much sense that like what we put in our body affects, it matters. Like we all agree with that statement, but like no one's ever taught us to like think that way.
So like for me, my gut was an issue, which, spoiler alert again, the gut is like the foundation of health. And so that's why we take a root cause approach where we're looking at your gut. We're looking at what's driving inflammation and what is then like your body, how it's kind of manifesting. Like we all have different genetics and things like that, but we can control our environment. And so like our environment like plays a role in our gut health being off. And then when our gut gets off, and like Phillip said, you kind of get like leaky gut, like literally things start to leak into your system. And then your immune system, which is primarily housed in your gut, starts like shooting up flares and things like that. And for me, it started attacking my thyroid. Like my body started attacking my thyroid. And from there, it was like, if I had just addressed my thyroid and taken the medicine like I was, you know, told to, and just kind of like gone about my way, I would still be having thyroid symptoms. You know, my numbers might be normal, but I mean, I can tell you from experience, I was taking the meds and I still felt like trash, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's where we dove in head first, and we were like, okay, this is a problem, just to go after the symptoms of my thyroid. My thyroid was my symptom. My gut being off and messed up, and like I was kind of full of junk, you know, we needed to detox me. it was definitely like it drained time, it drained energy, it drained money. Like, I mean, there's research that shows that like most people go to like 7 different doctors before they actually get like an autoimmune diagnosis. Now, mine wasn't that case. I got my diagnosis pretty early, but then we went through like 3 to 4 different doctors to finally find somebody who was going to go after the root cause, because we were learning. And so like, I know for me personally, that felt invalidating. You know, I was told like, hey, yeah, you just need to take levothyroxine and like your numbers look fine and you'll be fine and everything will be fine. And it was like, don't take anything. And so I just felt like, honestly, I didn't feel confident in what I was doing, because it wasn't like treating the whole person. What I was told, I was like, it was just like in isolation, my thyroid. And it was kind of like more of like this list of symptoms that we were playing whack-a-mole. And so,
but at the same time too, like we're reading all this research on functional medicine and going to see these doctors, and they were just like, nah, don't worry about gut health and don't worry about all this. And we're like, but we're seeing that there's like thousands of articles talking about this. And so we realized like we're just going to have to go a different route here.
And so
to ultimately get to the whole person approach, which is what we now try to offer people, because we realize it's hard to find that.
Yeah, because when I started taking thyroid medication, and like that was kind of the route we were going, I still was having brain fog. I was still having afternoon crashes. I was still bloating. I was having pelvic pain and like discomfort. Didn't even realize my pelvic floor was a mess, which I just was not even thinking of the body as a whole system. And everything was just like kind of getting to a fine range, but I was like, I still feel awful. And so that's when when Philip read the book, we were talking about, the autoimmune protocol. We kind of zoomed out and we're like, what's my stress doing? What's my sleep doing? How am I pooping? Because where are my nutrient gaps? Like I was kind of patient zero, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And so from there, when we looked at it as like from the root cause of like, oh man, we need to work on your gut. We need to work on replenishing your minerals and nutrients and things like that. That's where like the plan kind of started to like unfold of like, oh, this is a whole approach. This is not just like, I need to stop eating gluten and I'll be good.
Or like add these 2 supplements.
Yeah, or not even supplements, or just take my meds and move on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when we did that, my whole journey, it's been 8 years. I can't even believe that since we started this. I know. But I was diagnosed and I pouted for a little while. We'll tell you about that in a little bit. And then, once I kind of got my head out of my rear, we'll say, I can say that it was layer by layer. But I started to have regular bowel movements. And if you know me, that was like not a thing since I was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
Remember the first time that...
Well, they would go from one extreme to the other. And that's what we see is like they're either constipated or they're going really quick.
Yeah. Bloated, all those things. But like I started like peeling back that layer. And that was like the first time that my gut was starting to get back online. Then from there, it's like my sleep started to improve. I stopped sneezing all the time. I stopped taking my Zyrtec. I stopped, I got more energy, less brain fog, things like that. You remember when I was first diagnosed, I was teaching and I let my students out 40 minutes early because I couldn't remember what time their class ended and I couldn't remember how to look it up online. They loved me. I got great reviews.
Teacher of the year,
right? But so that being said, symptoms are signals, right? And that's what we're talking about today more so is like when we follow the signal to the source though, that's where we're going to get real results. So it's common to feel unwell with normal labs, and even when it's saying like it's fine, like that's not what we do here. We really want to do a better, more in-depth protocol, not just a bigger protocol. We just need to have a better map into what we're doing. Yeah. So okay, so why normal labs can miss the point. I think that this is something to talk about, like conventional versus functional, or not, and like kind of the differences, ranges. So ranges are set, on the population, right? And so there's going to be a wider range that's maybe typical, but what we look at in functional medicine is what's optimal, right? We want people to be in their in an optimal range. And so for me with my thyroid, like my TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone, that's your brain signal to your thyroid, essentially, I would say conventionally 0 to 5 is usually accepted. I would feel like an absolute trash can and be a puddle on the floor if I was at 5. Like 1 to 2 is where is optimal and what we want to see most people like hovering in that. Now it can kind of flex a little bit, sure, but that's where we want. Additionally, like the testing that we're going to do is we believe in conventional testing and blood labs and things like that. It is more of a snapshot in time, whereas like the hair tests and things that we're going to look at is going to tell us more of your story over time and like kind of what your body has gone through, what your body's still carrying, what we need to detox and things like that. And the testing and things that we do in functional medicine, we're going to not only like collect all this kind of like quantitative data, I guess you could say, but we're also going to look at like your story, right? So like you come in for an hour appointment with us to get started and we want to know everything. I remember when I went to my first functional medicine appointment with my doctor and she was like, so were you born vaginally or via C-section? And I was like, why does that matter? She was like, were you breastfed and for how long? And I was like, why does that matter? Yeah. But it does. Your whole story matters. And so it looks at everything in context. Like, what are you eating? What has your body gone through? You know, what is your stress? What's your sleep? What's your how do you move? You know, because movement, if you're not moving well and you've got like mechanical pain or like physical pain, that causes inflammation too, and that keeps your body from healing. So we're looking at it, all these different pieces of the puzzle, so we can get a full picture and then be like, all right, this is the direction we're going.
Yeah. Yep.
I think some common mistakes we see in the clinic is like people come in and they're like, I mean, we're in the era of like TikTok of everything, right?
Well, there's just so much information out there through different channels, and you don't know who to listen to, and so
and it's not a bad thing that the world's trying to like figure it out and speak up and think about things more alternatively or like, you know, holistically.
Yeah.
But when you're chasing every symptom with a new product, or you're like cutting entire food groups, we'll have people that'll come in and be like, I cut all oxalates, and I'm like, well, hold on a minute, is it really the oxalates or is there something else going on? You know, not saying it couldn't be that, but like when you cut a whole food group, it's kind of hard to be like, oh, okay, what do we, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but it also leaves people frustrated because they've dabbled in it a little bit, and they spent a lot of time, a lot of money, they made lifestyle changes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, functional medicine doesn't work. But
it's like,
a lot of it is because we're trying to piecemeal it together and having someone.
Or they are. You're saying
they're trying to piecemeal it together, when in reality what they need is some like an outside perspective to be like, yeah, let's see the big picture here, and then let's put it together. Yeah, let's put it on a plan.
Yeah. And so another thing that we see a lot of times, and I did this, is like ignoring the impact that stress has on your body. Like, we live in a society that celebrates stress, I would say. And it's like, the more stressed you are, it's kind of like a badge of honor almost, which is so bad for the body. And we're guilty of it too. But I mean, we had, like, I think my whole story is built off of like that exact thing of ignoring stress. I ignored it and I worked really hard on my gut health and like started eating clean. I was like, okay, I think I can possibly try and come off of my thyroid meds. And I did, I remember. And then I just didn't deal with my stress, and I was pumping so much cortisol into my body that my body was like, psych, joke's on you, and my thyroid stopped again. And there's like a whole, science, like there's all the physiological reasons that your body does that, if the receptors getting blocked and all the things. But like, I had to deal with my stress because I was just pumping too much, and I was like constantly like this level with my cortisol.
Yeah.
And cortisol sits at the bottom of your hormone like hierarchy, and so when it's out of dysregulated, guess what? It's going to trickle upstream, and everything's going to be off.
One of the things that you said that made me think about, stress and self-care.
Yeah.
And this is something that we still struggle with sometimes, and we've gotten a lot better about it. But I remember like almost feeling guilty that we would take time to like work on ourselves, and like, hey, your brain's on fire, so Philip, why don't you just sit for an hour by yourself? Like, we just felt so unproductive because that's just how our mind, like, that's just how we think. Like, we need to be productive, we need to be efficient, but like, sometimes your brain really and you just need to deal with your stress in a way that might seem unproductive because we're so busy all the time.
Right.
So
it's rest.
I know we hear that a lot with people. It's just like learning how to rest.
We can't emphasize it enough.
Yeah, we can't emphasize it enough. And that's something that we try to teach people.
Yeah, I think another common mistake that we see when people come in is like ignoring the whole like role that like your pelvic floor can have on your digestion, on like core stability, on, pain. Like, it's all playing a role. And so like we see a lot of women who are perimenopausal, menopausal, things like that. We see all age ranges and everything, but a lot of our clients are women in that age range and in that kind of like stage of life. And we're like, pelvic floor is playing a role here too. And I mean, I ignored that as well, and I needed it. I had an emergency C-section, and then, I've had...
Yeah, that was a few years in before we realized it.
Yeah. Just
that was even a problem. So it's just part of our journey.
Agreed. So like the biggest thing when you're looking for like answers in your health is to think about like whole person approach, right? Like, what's your timeline look like? Like, so when you're working with someone, this is why I think it's important to work with someone, is because you're so engrossed in your own story, which is great, and you know your story the best, but you need an outside perspective that can zoom out and be like, okay, let's look at your health timeline. Let's set some goals. Let's like set some habit stacking things, like daily rhythms of things. Cause you want this to stick. You don't want it to be another one off of keto or take these out, then add these things in, you know. The goal in working with a practitioner, like in what we do at the clinic, is we want to educate, we want to mentor, we want to review labs, we want to, you know, add that into your plan, we want to guide you through your diet, you know, protocol to like get some inflammation down. So it's like a whole practitioner guided approach rather than like, let's try this and then let's try this. It's like we want to give it time to work so that we know it's working.
Yeah.
I would say that like we also very much take an integrated approach here, and that's something that I really just can't discount, of like functional medicine with wellness coaching, because we're going to focus on your stress and your habits and making it stick and educating you, in addition to like physical therapy. And we take a holistic approach to physical therapy where we're really all working as a team to get your inflammation down so that your body can like truly start to heal.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people who do what we call the ultimate wellness, where they do work with the whole team, and honestly, those people will get the best outcomes.
Yeah.
Because when you're working on your gut health too, in addition to like pelvic floor, this mechanical issue that you have that's causing a lot of back pain, like it's amazing how the body heals so much faster. And that was one of the things, that's part of my story a little bit, is like when I didn't know as much about that, like I was sort of left frustrated as a physical therapist, because I was like, I can only help this person so much. Like there's just so much systemic inflammation that was just like stopping their healing. And then now that we learned about that, like one, it's brought a lot more joy to my, you know, physical therapy career, just because I'm seeing people get better quicker. And it's just unlocked so many new things that we can provide for people that gets great outcomes.
Yeah. And I would say another thing that I want to touch on is like when people, you know, are kind of like looking into health and trying to work on their health and wellness, oftentimes they'll try a supplement for a month, and then they'll try another one for a month, and then sometimes they're trying this brand because it was a little bit cheaper, and then they're trying this brand because they could get it faster. And that's not all bad things necessarily, but another thing that when you work with our team, and something that I think is really valuable, is that you need a practitioner guiding that, because it gives you that monthly consistency of like, how long do I really need to take this in order to start seeing results? Like, what's the best brand to take? What's not going to have fillers? What is actually going to do what it's saying it's doing? So therapeutic grade, like it's not guesswork, because it's a lot of money. We know that, like supplements cost money. And it's a lot of money if you're just doing it like guessing and things like that. But like, if you're working with a practitioner, you have a game plan, you're, you know, making decisions based on lab work and like testing, you are giving it the amount of time that it needs to, and you're going to see more progress and more results with that, I would say.
Well, also, instead of taking 10 supplements that aren't really changing your health much, what if you find the best 5, you know, that moves the needle a lot more than taking a lot. So that's why I think it's good having someone driving the train.
Yeah. And the great thing is that like Philip said, when we work with people and we see them working with our whole team, and they have this like kind of like team support of mentoring, education, you know, kind of guidance and things like that, we see people have better energy, we see them get better results, we see their inflammation decrease, we see fewer flare-ups, they become more resilient on the back end. Like we kind of like travel this like kind of like a little bit of a mountain. We get up there, and then they can kind of like start to take more and more of the reins themselves, and they're not like as big of flare-ups, like, and they know how to manage the flare-ups from there because they have more confidence in what they're doing and in their plan and in their health.
And we're empowering them.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Because we love empowering people to take back their health, because in 5 years they shouldn't need a hand holding, you know, but a lot of people for the first 4 or 5 months when you're changing your life, like you do need a lot of support. But then after that, like our goal is just to sit there and just be proud, you know, like
look how great they're doing.
Yeah, look how great they're doing, and look how that they've changed their habits, and like they've taken back control of their life.
Yeah, for sure. So if this resonates with you, we want to hear from you. Drop your biggest questions in the comments below, and we're going to answer them in a future episode. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more in this next section about what integrated care looks like at Mitchell Holistic Health. I'll talk about the functional medicine and wellness coaching part of it, because those two really just go hand in hand. So when we talk about functional medicine, we are a diet first clinic. So like our kind of running, I don't know, like I thought of the word in Spanish, but I can't think of the word in English, like slogan. There you go. It's like, you can't supplement your way out of a poor diet. Like you can't drink 12 Mountain Dews a day and then pop a, multivitamin and be like, all's good. No, they don't equal out or cancel each other out. No. You know what I mean? It don't work that way. So what we talk about is like nutrition. Number one, right diet, right body, right time. Like it's going to shift and move and things like that. Like when I first was like getting well, peppers like literally gave me anxiety and I would have like near panic attacks when I would eat them. It would disrupt my sleep. It was a mess. Now we just have some mild bloating, right? Like I don't love peppers, but my body's healed more. Yeah. But I wouldn't have known that had I not taken them out and then worked through reintroducing them with a practitioner, right? And so like that's a big role of it. We also address your stress. Literally, I tell people all the time, like think of it like two sides of the bike. Like we're pedaling and doing nutrition and like, kind of a lot of things with that and like kind of regulating your supplements and getting your body on this healing path. And then we're over here. And if you're just like not even dealing with your stress and you're like hard braking and you're going to flip over the handlebars and you're not going to see wins. So like we have to address both in your life for you to be like pedaling in the right direction. Right. Mm-hmm. We also really work on gut health and we look at your hormone signals. Now we talk about hormones and people come in and be like, my estrogen is off. And I'm like, you're probably right. But if I just like pinpoint your estrogen and I just look at your estrogen or your testosterone and things like that, then I'm not going to know like what's really driving it down here because hormones are downstream. And so like by the time your hormones are off, like we got to work that ripple back and like kind of figure out what was the first drop in the pond that caused that, ripple effect. Yeah. And that's where our wellness coaches come in really well as well, because like your functional medicine team is going to kind of like do the testing, figure out the plan, kind of like get you going. And then our wellness team, our wellness coaches come in and they're like, let's help you stick to the plan. Let's help this be successful, sustainable. And also we're going to talk about your stress. They're trained in that. And like we offer that here to where we can go from kind of like habits to try each day to full on brain rewiring, which your girl did and needed. And it changed my life for sure. So that's like how those two work together, integrated. And then you want to talk about physical therapy and how it kind of like nicely,
So I would say with integrated physical therapy, not only are we looking at the whole body, but we're just going to dig deeper into like, why are you having your symptoms? So not only can we talk about gut stuff or like refer them over to functional medicine, but a lot of times people will come in, for example, let's say you have a neck problem, but you have a bunch of tight muscles in your shoulder blade. Like we see this all the time. And so not just treating the shoulder blade, but actually treating the neck. And so like getting to the root cause, like what's the real problem here? Like where's the source of this pain coming from, and really trying to target that. But so I think we do a really good job of like getting to not just like treating symptoms, because it's really easy just to treat symptoms in physical therapy. But we're trying to get to the root cause with that. But we're looking at your core strength. We're looking at your posture. We're looking at your breath work. We're checking like what's your coordination, like what movement patterns are you stuck in that is leading to this problem.
Well, and I was gonna say this is just kind of like a one-off, just like an aside or whatever you want to call it. But like we also have modalities in the clinic. Like we have technology that we use that is like holistic. So we have PEMF therapy, which is pulsed electromagnetic fields, which helps the body just lower inflammation. It helps like with old injuries, it helps it's got infrared in it, so it helps you detox as well. We use sauna, we use red light. We also have frequency-specific microcurrent in physical therapy.
Yeah, I was gonna say like and this sounds weird, like it's not woo-woo energy medicine. This is like a frequency.
Yeah, we don't have voodoo dolls in the back.
This is like a frequency that we can run through the body, because we know that all the cells in the body run on like a specific frequency. So if you come in and I'm like, oh, this is a muscle injury, or like this is the cartilage, I can program the unit to be like, all right, let's work on decreasing inflammation of the cartilage, or let's work on repairing the cartilage through a specific frequency. So like just having that at my disposal, knowing that this is going to help jumpstart the cells and the healing process, like honestly, the outcomes are unreal. They're unreal.
Like, I'm thinking about one person that she honestly was headed toward knee replacement surgery, I think, and like couldn't walk like a block without her cane and being in like significant pain. And then I remember when she texted us and she was like, I went on a trip, like I think with a school or something like that, and I just walked all over Washington, D.C., like miles upon miles. And she was like, I'm tired, but like I did it and I'm not in like excruciating pain. And that was like FSM, right?
Another one that like before, I'm not sure that I even had the tools to help, was someone who had a hip replacement, but she still had tons of weakness in her hip 5 years after the hip replacement. And she had done like the basic exercises. Honestly, the exercises I probably would have given her. But I said, hey, I do have this unit that we can work on torn and broken muscles and tendons in there, and let's just see if the body heals itself. And she was super skeptical. And I was like,
I mean, fair enough.
Yeah,
right?
which I get it. Like, it seems weird. No one's ever told her that the body actually has the ability to do that. She's like, well, after 5 years, it would have healed itself if it was going to. I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Like, I do totally hear you. But, like, let's just see how this works. And after, like, 4 visits, she came in yesterday and said, like, I couldn't believe how I could get around without my cane. Like, I was, like, easily able to get throughout the airport. And she's like, it's working. So she was super ecstatic.
Yeah.
So
that's just like one of the like holistic modalities that we offer in the clinic. And like we do that with pelvic floor as well. Like I think about myself, I had an emergency C-section with our first child, and like tons of scar tissue there, and like FSM's great for that. Pelvic floor therapy is great for that because it's also going to affect my hormones. Like it's all interconnected, and that's honestly what our like desire or our like dream was to be able to have a clinic where it was like you come here and you can like it's the whole person approach, truly.
And we're going to use tools too that most people don't have. So I think it's just that whole person approach, along with having these really cool tools that we can use because we're cash based, and we're not being told like what we can and can't use in our treatments.
And so I would say the last part of it is the practitioner guided like supplements as well. Like we use supplements, we believe in them because sadly, our soil is not as like rich as it used to be, like when our grandparents were even, eating and growing and things like that, their own food. And so we really love Orthomolecular. There's a lot of other brands as well that, we recommend, but we really love them. They're made in Wisconsin. We know that they're therapeutic grade, which means they do what they say they do. They are certified and can be, they're NSF certified, which is, I don't even know what that acronym stands for, but it's really good. So they can be sold in Europe, which has much higher standards. And so like we love that, and we use those in our clinic. We use them as part of your plan of care, but we also like have set it up now to where our clients can continue to see wins, because and you don't even have to be a client to do this, I suppose, either, but like you can have a subscription of these supplements. We want to be able to like be like, hey, these are really good brands. These are going to make changes in your life. So like, and you're going to see wins with these. So we've set it up to where you can do like monthly delivery, and like it simplifies your choices. You're not trying to guess all over the place and be like, what do I need from, X, Y, or Z? But I want sustained support, but I don't want to guess all the time.
But it's still being monitored by your practitioner.
Yeah.
So if you reach out, you're like, hey, do I still need to take this? Or like, I'm still having these symptoms. Is there anything else out there you would recommend? Like, it's just really easy to be like, oh yeah, let's add this to it and see how you do. And so like, that's just an easy
having that practitioner guidance
5 minute,
is key.
like add something to the order.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, okay. One practical action step. Here's a little challenge for, let's call it like a 7-day root cause snapshot, if you will. So, if you're like, yep, this is me, I'm trying everything, I am like, if you kind of like raising your hand as we were saying these things of like, yep, I took out oxalates, yep, I tried one supplement and then switched to the next month, yep, I'm trying to kind of DIY more than maybe I want to, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do from here. Here's what I would say. For the next 7 days, get a sheet of paper or track it in your phone on the Notes app and track your things like your energy, your sleep patterns, what you're eating, how's your digestion, how's your bloating, how's your brain fog, how's your mood, if you have a cycle, how's your cycle, things like that. Like, how's your pain? I'm thinking about, and like, what's your stress like? Like, you can make different columns of those things. If it were me, I would track like what I ate, how I slept, how my stress was, and don't lie. Like, it's just be honest with yourself, I'm like, it was fine. And like, how, like, did I poop? And look up the Bristol stool chart on Google, and like, you can use the numbers for that as well. Okay. So I would track those things, and then I'd do it for a week. And then I'd start to like circle like patterns, right? So you have it on a sheet of paper. That's probably the easiest to do, it is writing it out. And then you circle patterns. Like for me, what would have very clearly shown up would have been afternoon brain fog, right? An afternoon slump. Like I think about how I was taking like naps with the girls, disrupted sleep, things like that. But that's kind of how you can start figuring out like, what is going on here? Like, is it meals? Is it that I'm not moving after meals? Does it hurt to move? Like, I mean, there's all sorts of things that you can learn from that. Then what my challenge would be is bring that to your free discovery call. So like we offer a 15 to 20 minute free discovery call with one of our staff. And if you are looking like to take the next step, you're like, this is me, I need help. That's perfect to do that, and then bring it to the call and be like, yep, I tracked it and this is where I'm at. Can y'all help me? And that's going to be so vital for her to be like, yep, all right, let's do this. You know,
you'd be shocked how many times your story is so similar to the majority of people who come in the door. Like you start to see a lot of the same patterns. And so like, although you might not know, you might not have a best friend that lives with something like this, like just know that you're not alone when you experience some of these symptoms. And I can pretty much guarantee you, like any symptom that you're having is something that we've seen in the clinic.
Yeah, for sure.
Mean, with thousands of people coming in over the last 3 or 4 years, it's like you start to see clear patterns.
Yeah. So here's kind of what to stop doing. Stop stacking protocols and that you're not sure if they work or don't work. Stop TikToking everything and made it into a verb, right? Stop ignoring your body cues because you've been told it's normal or it's typical. Just because it's typical doesn't have to be like you're normal. Like it doesn't have to be what you live with, right? Yep. And I would say stop the all or nothing swings. Like when you overthink it, you're like, oh, I've just got to rip all these foods out, or oh, I've got to do this, and I've got to like, you know, anything like that. It leads to burnout, and then it just leads to nothing, right? Like you're burned out and you're like, I'm just not going to do anything. So forget it. I'm going to go eat lollipops and Mountain Dews.
So it's this huge roller coaster that people go on with frustration and wins. And so like, we want it to be a little bit more steady.
Exactly. So what I would start doing is like small, simple things, right? Okay. So like, morning light, don't go stare at the sun. I'm not saying that, but go outside. Don't look through the glass, like go outside and look in the sky and be like, eyeballs in the sky, it's time to wake up. That starts your natural circadian rhythm,
Feet on the ground.
Yep, feet on the ground.
You got some grounding in there.
Yeah, 10-minute walk if you can. I cannot do that because we have small people at home and they'd be like, where are they? You know what I mean? But that's, you know, something to think about. A good foundational kind of like thing to implement is more protein, right? Make sure you're eating protein in the morning, fiber at each meal. Don't drink coffee on an empty stomach. Those are just some easy things to just for anyone to start like building a solid foundation, right? Incorporate one like rest pattern throughout the day. Like what, I remember Natalie, one of our wellness coaches here, talked about rest, and I always thought rest meant like I had to take a nap. I mean, I know that sounds dumb, but like literally this was until last year, and I was like, I don't know how to rest. Which is very true. And she said,
if you know us, it's very true.
She said something about rest is when you feel most like yourself, you know, and like when you're doing what you're doing, you feel most like yourself. And her example was like she loves to paddleboard. I've gone paddleboarding with her. I stink at it, so I don't think that's my rest, but you know, that's Nat's rest. And so like,
I know for me, it's like being out in nature, like just getting outside, you know, the fresh air, the sun. Just, like that's it's restful for me.
So what is your rest, and figure that out. So like eat more protein, put your eyeballs on the sky outside, and like rest. Try those simple tips and see how you feel after, you know, incorporating them. And the goal would be that like most people start to see like a little bit of shifts, a little bit of things, and they're trying to get out of that like try new something every day. So it's like gentle patterns that really start to like lower the load, and then we start to like support you. And we go in and like at the clinic, if you're working with us, we're going to use testing to be precise and to guide us. So it's not this like, let's play whack-a-mole and like throw Jell-O at the wall and see if it sticks. So we start like with simple patterns, and then we use testing, and then we go after it, right? And that's what I would say is like the biggest thing.
See the small wins, get some confidence that, you know, you can do it, because it is overwhelming sometimes to think like, you want me to do all this? Like, no, let's just start small, get the confidence up, and then like, all right, now that you've conquered that, like let's start adding in some new things.
And like peeling back the layers. So, okay. Final takeaways, biggest things is if you only remember one thing, you're not a collection of symptoms, right? You are a connected system, and we want to help you, right? We want to help you stop asking, what fixes my symptoms, and what, you know, how do I need to play whack-a-mole better? We want to say, nope, let's figure out what the root cause is, and let's get that fixed, and then we'll start to see the ripple effect of that, which is a positive one, right?
Yep.
So if you're ready to take your next step, you can book your free discovery call with us. You can call us at 608-903-0220, or you can book that on mitchellholistichealth.com.
So here's what I'd leave you with. If you're really serious about taking your health, stop chasing symptoms and come to us and get a better roadmap for getting your health back.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure or prevent any disease. Always consult your doctor before starting a new protocol or taking a new medication or supplement. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration.